astronaut and space advocate. He's speaking to us from London. Per, very exciting times for those who have been following this. But just first, talk us through the re-entry of the spacecraft and what the four-member crew would have experienced during this.
Yeah, almost a textbook re-entry we have experienced here. So what happened first was the European service module got separated out from the integrity crew module. That's the first thing we would see on the way in. And then after that, a little bit of a correction. So a little bit of 19 seconds of booster and then straight into the Earth's atmosphere. At that point, the crew module would have experienced about 3,000 degrees centigrade outside the capsule, not as much inside, fortunately, but they would have experienced a lot of G-forces, up to 4G, so the equivalent of having 4 people standing right on top of their chest. So a lot of pressure, and therefore a little bit difficult to breathe, but the astronauts are trained for exactly this. That would have lasted about 6 minutes. And also there have been total communication blackout. So no phone lines to Houston at this point during those 6 minutes blackout. And that's simply because of the temperature is so high and there's a plasma around the capsule, so no communication can leave. And after those 6 minutes coming out of the blackout, you would have seen 11 parachutes, 2 drogue chutes and 9 normal parachutes coming out 3 at a time, and then the 2 drogue chutes together. Then basically breaking the speed of this capsule down to a speed of about 30 kilometers upon impact. Now, bearing in mind, this came from about 40,000 kilometers an hour. So it's a very significant break they experienced there. Yeah, and then finally splashing down just outside San Diego. Absolutely perfect landing.
Yeah, we've got these live pictures that we're showing our viewers right now of them actually in the water and boats going out to get those astronauts. But this mission itself was incredibly historic. They traveled further from Earth than anyone ever before. What did we learn from this mission and the far side of the moon?
This has been an incredibly important science mission. We have seen the far side of the moon in places we have not seen before. I mean, about 60% of the far side of the moon has not been seen by human eyes before, and now we could finally put some eyes on certain parts of it. We have discovered that the far side of the moon is a lot more curved, a lot more craters, certainly than the near side of the moon. It's a lot more curvy. And we have also discovered an amazing amount of colors there, brown and green and orange. So it's actually more colorful than the naked eye would think when we try to look up at the near side of the moon. We think it's sort of yellow or grayish. No, it's a lot more colors there and a lot more rockety than we would have thought. So something that geologists and scientists would be very excited about. And this holds the potential of learning more about how the universe was created and the Earth as well. It's actually better to do those science experiments on the moon than on Earth, because on Earth we have too much life that sort of disturbs things and some of the geology. So very exciting from a science perspective. But I would also say it also has given an enormous inspiration and excitement about space again. This is a true Apollo 8 moment we are experiencing. Just like Apollo 8 excited the world about space, we've seen the same thing with Artemis 2, because there's living people, 4 astronauts on board. And I think one should not underestimate the impact of that. It really captures the world's attention, this, and been truly exciting to follow.
Yeah, it really has. I know so many people who've been speaking about this, and it seems to give hope to people about what is still to come. What happens after this type of mission? Is NASA planning, or other space agencies planning for a similar mission for a longer period of time? Is that possible?
So this is the Artemis program is a longer program over several years. So next thing is, well, first thing that's going to happen in the immediate future is they're going to pick up the 4 astronauts, get them on a U.S. Navy ship, bring them back to San Diego, and then back to Houston for debrief. The same with the capsule. On a much bigger scale, the next big Artemis mission is going to be Artemis 3. Now, that one is not going to go to the moon, but that will go up into space, into low Earth orbit, and they'll be training docking with the lunar landing module. And there are two private companies in the US, SpaceX and Blue Origin, developing these landing modules. So this will be very good testing ground now that we know we can successfully have live astronauts going around the moon. We have tested the live systems. It all works perfectly well, maybe minus the toilet that had some issues along the way, but essentially it worked fine. And then we're going to go into Artemis 4, which is a very big mission. Artemis 4 is the new Apollo 11 mission. That's where we're going to have 2 astronauts firmly back on the lunar surface doing exploration there. So that's going to be an incredible moment. And there's a little bit of a space race going on at the moment because the Americans are intending to do that in 2028, whilst the Chinese have a target for 2030. So we'll see who gets there first, because there can always be delays, but there's a little bit of a space race going on at the moment, which is a great thing. Competition breeds focus and innovation. So I'm very excited to see we have this renewed Apollo moment when it comes to space at the moment.
Focus and innovation the next few years certainly will be very exciting. Per Wimmer, thank you so much for breaking that all down for us and telling us why this is so important for humanity and the future. Thank you, Per.